Hi students, welcome back. So in the following videos, we are going to talk about the part of the dot matrix printers. So basically these are the parts, the components of the dot matrix printers. Some of it is the core components of the dot matrix printers. So for instance, we have the platens, we have the print heads, okay, and so on. So and other than that, we have the paper feeders, okay, to feed the papers. Okay, so control panels for us to interact with the printers. Just now, you already know about the print head contains the paint to strike on the papers, the ribbons onto the papers to produce readable forms. Okay, so we have a belt. So the belt basically is to control the print heads to move left and right while it's punching on the papers. And we have a stabilizer bar because we have the print heads is moving left and right, so we need because it's vibrated, so we need a stabilizer bar to keep it stable, okay, while it's moving left and right. So we also need to have the power supplies to provide the powers for the printers to print. And we have the control circuitry. It basically is the electronic circuit board, okay, to give instructions, to receive instructions from the computers, and also giving instructions to all these core components to print. And then we have the interface port. So because our printer, when they want to connect to the computer, so we also need to have the interface. So this interface is for the printers to communicate with the computers. Then we have a stepper motors, okay, because inside our printers you have gears. So all these gears will control the belts, okay, will control the paper feeding, control the paper feeder. Okay, so all this actually is controlled by the stepper motors. Okay. So we have the stepper motors, and then we have the ribbon cassette. This one also we introduced earlier, so which contain the ink soak ribbons. Okay, so allowing the print heads to print to how to say to strike on the ribbons and then to produce the images onto the papers. Then we have the ribbon mask because for the ribbons when they touch the paper, then it will make the paper become dirty. So in between the ribbons and also the paper, we have the ribbon mask. Okay, so to block so that you will not to separate them. Okay, so that they only contain of the small areas that able to the pin strike on the ribbon will touch the papers, but the rest of the the surface of the paper, okay, will be protected by the ribbon mask. Okay, so it will not get dirty. And we have the smoke covers, okay, basically to protect the printer's internal components. Okay, so the first one is the platen. So platen is a cylinder shapes. Okay, so the platen cylinder shapes is quite hard. Okay, made by metal plates. And then why? Because it's hard. Why is cylinders? Because as it rotated, so it will pull the paper in. Okay, so if you imagine if just a piece of plate, then it will not move. Then you're not able to pull our paper in. So this cylinder shapes as it turn, okay, it also will pull the paper in as well. Okay, we have to pull the paper in to fit the paper in, and it must be very hard. Why? Because so that the paper can have a backup of it, and then you will how to say you will support the strikes. Okay, so that the paper the how to say the print head will strike on the ribbon and ribbon will strike on the paper and the paper have the platen to support it. Okay, so typical flats of metal plates press against the paper to cause impressions in the printing. So it's also referring to the typewriters, the rollers, which friction feeds papers into the position below the print head. Okay, so it also, just like I said, it also helps to fit in the paper so that it can be able to fit in the paper while it's printing. Okay, so this is basically the core components, the core of platens, and it is the cylinder shapes. Okay, so and then after that, then we have the platen gap and also the head gaps. Platen meaning the gap between the platens and the print head. Okay, or it also simply meaning the head print head. The how to say the distance between the print head and the platen. Okay, so it's between these two things. Why? Because if your paper is too thick, you just now introduced the paper we are using is the multi-platform paper, so it might have more than one ply, two ply, three ply. So it's getting more ply and meaning more thicker. So we need to adjust the gap between the platens and also the print head. Okay, if it is too close and then the paper is too thick, then there is no room for it to strike the pins, and therefore it will harm the pins. Okay, it will make your pin bent or even broken. So to fit in different thickness of the paper, then we need to adjust the platen gaps or head gaps. Okay, so usually you will locate it on your left side. Okay, so it's like something looks like this. Okay, so you can tune the gaps, okay, between the uh, platen and also the pin heads. Okay, so if it's too thick, then we can make it far a bit. So if it's too thin, okay, so we can make it make closer. Why? Because the paper is very thin. So if it's very thick, then we can make it far. Okay, so it is very important to adjust, okay, as it will compensate for different paper types to keep the gaps consistent. So if you install finer papers, okay, so then you need to adjust to thinner. Okay, so if you put in the thicker paper, then you need to adjust farther. Okay, so it depends on the paper that you fit in. And then we also have the roller knob and also a roller platen knob or roller knob. Basically, this one is attached on the platen gaps, attached on the platen. So as the roller knob, when we turn, we will rotate it, and then the platen also will be rotated. Okay, will be rotated. So usually, it locate on the right side of the printer, and mostly we use it to manually fit in the paper. In the events of the paper jams, it's either we fill the paper or we take out the paper manually. So when we're using the roller knob, okay, keep in mind that you need to use it while the power is off. Why? Because if you use it while the power is on, and as for the pattern is actually taken over by the stepper motor, okay, just like a motor, it's taken over by the motor. So if you manually, adjust it, then it will interfere your paper loading system. Okay, so because it's taken over by the motor. So in the event of paper jam, shut down, turn off the printer. Okay, you want to take out the paper, then you need to rotate the platen so that the paper will be ejected out. Then you need to make sure that you turn off the printers. Okay, without powers, then only can use the roller knob. Right, so only use it when the printer is off. And of course, to avoid accidental use, because someone might, hand might get itchy. So because I mean, meant for us to rotate the patterns, okay, but what they don't know is when the power on cannot rotate the pattern. So usually we will take it out. Okay, we will keep the knob. Okay, we will separate it from the patterns, and then after we keep it. So when we need to use it to remove the paper jam, then only we will put it in. Okay, so as for the paper feeder, okay, for Dometric printer, we got two kind of paper feeds. Okay, the first one is called tractor. Okay, so remember just how we say we have the sprockets, so that the punch hole will open these sprockets, and then after that there is a punch hole looks like this. Then we'll put our paper in. So as it's rotating, then it will fit the paper in. Okay, and as our continuous paper is continuous, okay, with the tear, we so called as a tear line. Okay, so you're filling continuously, and then when you print finish one page already, you can tear it off. Okay, but manually tear it off. So that's why it will fit in the paper automatically. Okay, until the rims of the paper is finished. Okay, so that is actually depending on the tractor. That's why I call a tractor fit. So there is two sprockets, okay, wheels on either side, okay, both sides of the printer that fit the whole of the papers. So tractor feeder we also can call as a pin fit. So another type of feeding, then we need to rely on the platen and also the paper roller. Okay, so this one, when we switch to friction feed, and then the tractor will stop moving, and this is where we can put in the single sheet paper. Single sheet paper is like plain A4 plain paper, and then it's depending on the platen. As I said, the platen why is cylinder shape because they want to fit in the paper, and with the help of another roller, it's called paper roller. So when they turn, okay, they will squeeze the paper in, then they will fit in the paper. But however, we don't have a paper guide, so meaning that the paper when you put it in is very difficult to adjust as it will press the paper, okay, because there is no paper guide. Okay, so we need to manually put in the paper. If let's say we want to put in single sheet paper, it will not continuously fit in the A4 paper. Okay, so we need to fit in the paper manually. I mean each pieces by each pieces, paper by paper. We need to manually put it in. Okay, so you utilize the plastic or the rubber roller to squeeze the paper. Okay, plastic roller and also the platen to squeeze the paper in and pull it through so that the paper will fit in. And of course, the platen is controlled by the stepper motor. So as the platen to the mean rotating, then because this roller is also placed on top of the platen, as it is rotate, then the paper roller also will rotate, and from there, then you squeeze the paper in. So for the control panels, it's basically for us to communicate with the printers. We need to do some setting on the printers. Nowadays, most of the printers actually we can do settings, okay, from the computer, okay, from the word processions applications, like let's say Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So like font size, font type, then after that the the paper size, all we can set on the, on the computers. But in dot matrix printers, usually we need to set on the printers. Okay, why? Because we can, because some of the word, like for instance the font types and also the size, if we configure on the computers and the printer cannot, okay, cannot cooperate with. Why? Because the printer is using pin. Okay, and with the limited pin, then the font size, the font type also will be limited. Okay, so it might have problems. So that's why we need to set the font type, font size, some of the the settings on the control panels. So fancy printers usually will have a LCD screen, okay, but for dot matrix printers usually it's a little bit old, so they have a physical buttons on it. Okay, so these are the one of the vendors of the dot matrix printers from Epson. This is how we set the font. So we have a button, and then when we press until the lights. Okay, so it depends on the lights over here. So if for instance, if let's say drop, then meaning one light on, one light off. So we need to press until one light on, one light off. So on. So these are the font that's supported by this printer. Okay, other than this one, it might not supported by this printer. Okay, and then after that, this one is for later on we'll have another slide. Okay, yeah, this is the thing. So we have the line feed and also font feed. So line feed is for us to line feed and font feed is either we press for us to advance to another paper. Okay, so and then also the first print line. Okay, meaning we can press it so that it will stop at the first print line before we start printing. Okay, so and we have a pause button. So usually pause button is to pause the printing, and then we have the load and eject. So when the paper is out, then we need to install new paper. Then this is where we load the paper. And when the paper we print is maybe error, so we need to eject the paper. So this is where we press to eject the paper. Okay, so you also have some LED indicator to show you that the paper is out. Okay, and we have on-off buttons. And usually we have the online button as well. So you connect to the printers, to the computers, and you turn on the printers. Not necessarily it's online, maybe it's offline. Okay, so we need to make sure we need to press online so that it's connected, even though they're physically connected, but logically we need to press on the online button to make sure it's connected. And remember, just now we say that we can, the font size. Okay, so we can press on the pitch switch to change the character per inch. Okay, and then we can switch the fonts, okay, by pressing the font switch. Okay, and then after that we have a form fits. Okay, form fits over here, so it's to eject paper, and line fit is to fill in the paper and then advance to the next page, the first line. And then if you want to tear the paper, because it's a continuous paper, so after you finish one print one page already, you want to tear it off, you can press on the tear off switch, so it will reverse or it will advance to another page. Before that, you can tear off the printers. Okay, this is where we load the papers. This is another examples, okay, of the control panel. So we can have the font. Same thing, we press on the font. Okay, and these are the instructions. Like for instance, if you press on two lights is off, then meaning it's programmed, it's decided by the computers. As I said, most of the characters, font types is not supported by computers. Okay, and then if you want to use Prestige, then you press until one light off, one light on. Okay, and then these are the online buttons, so you can press online. So as again, you connected to the computer, not necessarily it's online, so we need to press online. And when it's the paper out, then it will give you the LED indicator. And this is when we load the papers and also form fit. Okay, advance to the next page, first line, when you want to print on the second page. Okay, then if you want to tear the paper, then you press on tear off, and it will stop. Okay, the tear lines over here on the smoke cover, so that we can pull the paper to tear the paper, and this is to load the papers. Okay, so these are the print heads. Print head is usually attached at these areas. So there is a print head, then it will go left and also go right. Okay, so we have a videos, practical videos will show you more clearly about the print heads. Okay, so usually it's attached to the metal bar. This is a metal bar, or we also can call as the stabilizer bar. Okay, because the print head needs to attach on the most stabilized bar, so that you can print more precise, okay, and also controlled. Okay, so and we have the belt, because this one is attached on the stabilizer bar, but how it move is actually we have a belt, so that when the belt move, then this print head will move. So the belt basically is to control the print heads. Okay, so a belt is used to attach on the printhead assembly to the stepper motor. So stepper motor will start moving, and then it will cause this belts moving, and when the belt moving, and then you also will move the printhead. This is how they control the printhead to move. These are the stabilizer bar. Okay, stabilizer bar is in cylinder shapes. Okay, so it's attached on the printhead. So the printhead assembly use the stabilizer bar to ensure that the movement is precise and under control. Okay, so inside you will find some maybe more than two printer circuit boards, okay, or electronic circuit board. Okay, so one is in green color, another one is in brown color. So brown colors is more referring to the power supply. So power supply is to provide powers. Yes, the adapters is built in. The power supply is built inside the printer. Most of the printers, so it's to supply the power. Okay, and usually standard power supply that is incorporated into or inside the printer itself. So earlier printers often have the external transformer, meaning it's something like laptops will have external power supply. But most of the printer actually will have a built-in. So the power supply basically is to provide power to all internal components. Okay, and we have the control circuitry. This one is like a motherboard of the printer. So basically this motherboard will receive the instructions, okay, operations from computers, and then after they receive the operation, then you will translate it into the printer language, and then to give instructions to all mechanicals or internal components of the printers. Okay, so for them to start printing, and then of course, because the digital signals will come into the printer circuit board, so they need to translate or decode the information that's sent from or to the computers. Okay, so the meaning basically they need to translate the data from computer, translate it to printer language, and also communicate back to the computers. This is actually is controlled by the control circuitry. That's why we call control circuitry. So we can have the interface port. Interface port, it depends. Okay, it depends on the printer can support which port. Like dot matrix printers usually will have the parallel ports. They are using a parallel ports. Okay, it's still in use in dot matrix printers, many dot matrix printers, and the most recent one or newer printers they will have USB port. So if you have USB port, then you can connect to your computer USB. But if your printer is parallels, then it's either you buy or you get the parallels cables to connect from the printer to your computers. And usually from the printer side, it's so-called as the Centronic 36. Okay, it's not parallels, it's a Centronic 36 to connect for the printers, and the other end, okay, is the parallel port for you to connect to your computers. So one side is the parallel port, another side is the Centronic 36. Centronic 36 is to connect to your printer, and the parallels is to connect to your computers. But if your computers do not have parallel ports and your printer do not have USB, so usually we will purchase a converter. Okay, so convert from Centronic 36 to USB so that we can plug into the computers. Okay. Or you can purchase a dot matrix printer with USB for newer. I mean, if you want to buy a new printers, then probably you need to choose the dot matrix printers that come with the USB port. So you do not need to purchase the converter, because most of the computer right now, usually they don't have parallel ports. And we have the stepper motors. Yes, everything actually is controlled by these stepper motors, and these stepper motors will move, okay, step by steps. Okay, so every move they make actually is a steps. Okay, so they have a precise step by steps. Okay, when they move one step, then this one actually will, some of the mechanism will move one step. All is controlled. I mean, the movement is all controlled by the stepper motors. So if you turn on the printers and then you mess up with the roller knob, actually you mess up with the stepper motor programs. So maybe the paper fit in, supposedly you need to fit 1 inches. Because the stepper motor mess up already, then maybe you will fit like half inch or even more than 1 inch. Okay, so meaning your printing is not precise already. Okay, all the movement go haywire. So the powers will provide to the stepper motors, and the stepper motors will provide the powers to the roller so that you will move the paper or you move the belt so that you move the print head. Okay, so or move the paper in the exact increments. Okay, step by step. The increment meaning the step by step is the programs step by steps. Okay, so needed to ensure that there is a continuous image is printed. So basically, stepper motor will control all these moving parts. Okay, like paper rollers, print heads, stepper. The platens, all is controlled by stepper motors. Some of the printer even have more than one stepper motors. Okay, some of the printer only have one stepper motors control everything, but some you will have more than one stepper motors to control different things. Okay, so these are the ribbon cassette. Okay, from the exteriors, the ribbon cassette looks like this. When you open the covers, inside the ribbon cassette looks like this. Okay, so it's very messy inside. So not really, if you, how to say, if not necessarily, usually we will not remove the covers. The ribbons usually by dot matrix printers are covered with ink. All this is actually soaked with ink, and of course eventually the ink will run out, so it's time for us to change the ribbon cassette. So the pins will strike on the ribbons, okay, that's soaked with ink, and then you will ink on the papers. Okay, and the color ink ribbons have three bands corresponding to the three primary colors. So we have multiple colors if it's a ribbon color ribbon cassette. Okay, and this will be the ribbon mask. So the ribbon mask is actually placed in front of the print head. Okay, so when the print head striking on the ribbons, okay, and the ribbons need to place in front of the usually it's like that. Okay, so we have a print head, there we have the ribbons, and then after that we have the so-called as the ribbon mask. And when the print head strike on the ribbons, and then you see there is only one small hole for the pins and ribbons to print on the paper. So you see only these areas the ribbon will touch on the papers. The rest of the areas the ribbon will not touch on the papers. Why? Because we want to prevent the paper from dirty. Because the ribbons is full of ink, so when they touch on the papers, it will make the paper become dirty. So it will provide a carriage between an ink ribbon and also your paper. So printing paper from preventing the ribbon from coming to contact with the paper to make your paper become dirty. That's why we need a ribbon mask. Or without it, then your paper, the whole page will become very dirty because the ribbon is contacting with your papers. Okay, so this is the smoke covers. So the smoke covers is basically to protect the internal parts, and then also when you press on the tear off buttons, and then the paper will stop at the tear line. So we can use these smoke covers, the edge, to to tear the papers. So these are basically the purpose of the smoke covers. And remember, smoke covers is usually not for us to have a privacy shaded to protect the printout of the paper. No. Okay, so it just protect from dust, protect from something that falls inside the printers to stop the printers from from normal operations. Okay, so there's a reason why we need a smoke covers. Okay, so that's all for these videos. Thanks for watching.